Welcome back to the EAM Crypto channel. Sorry it's been over a week since I did any sort of video or anything. We had a huge winter storm here in Austin. We don't do well with winter storms. I didn't have power here in my house for 5 days. My main business didn't have power for 8 days. It's been kind of a nightmare. There's still trees everywhere. We just don't do well with winter storms here in Austin. So here we are. We're back. Finally have some electricity. And today I'm very excited to talk to Cyril from OnlyBurns. This project is very, very unique. There are a lot of projects in DeFi that claim to be hyper-deflationary, but just doing some math, doing some due diligence, I think these guys actually have the goods to actually be able to state that. So we're going to talk to them about that. We're going to get a better feel for everything that they have going on. In some ways, it's a very unique project and very simple. In other ways, it's pretty complex. So there's a lot to cover. I have a lot of questions for him. So let's jump into it. All right, Cyril, what is going on? Good morning, man.
Morning, Enrique. How you doing today? Just been busy.
Yeah, I've had better weeks and months, that is for sure. And for those of you that don't know, Austin has had power outages, the winter storm, and we're prepared for it, so it's been crazy. So this is actually the first video I've done in quite a while, and the timing could not be better to talk to you, Cyril. You have a lot going on with OnlyBurns, and yeah, man, definitely have a ton of questions for you. It's in some ways a very simple project, but in some ways it's very kind of diverse and very layered. So I do want to cover as much as we can in a short amount of time. But Cyril, man, when I first saw you was during that whole liquid capital debacle. You were in some kind of video with a few people I know. And I assumed, I think I even jumped on that video later, but I assumed you're a YouTuber. And it turns out my assumption was wrong. You're not a YouTuber. Then I think it was Alex, I can't remember who told me, said, no, this guy's actually a consultant. But then Austin Clark told me, no, he's a professional trader. So what is your background, man? Because I don't really know it too well. I'm very confused.
Yeah. I'm a man of many hats, so to speak. I got started in business management about 16 years ago. Middle of no man's land, Virginia. Best thing we had for internet was 14 kilobits a second. I'm sure you remember the days of dial-up. I hated that. So my friend and I did what, most people do. And we started a wireless internet company to actually have good internet speed. Ran that for like 3 years. And then I started trading in the stock market about 13 years ago. Blue chip cryptos about 9 years ago on central exchanges. Moved into DeFi about 4 years ago. Huge culture shock, obviously, coming from traditional finance to decentralized finance. And like most people, my first investment in DeFi turned out to be a slow rug of some sort.
What was
got that
it?
right. It was this old project called Goji Crypto.
Never heard of
It
it.
was yeah. Very few people have. It was a terrible project, but they sounded like they were good at the time. And that experience left me thinking there's a lot lacking when it comes to certain DeFi projects in regards to either their tokenomics, the way that the developers set up their economics and their ecosystem. And so I started a consultation firm, KC Consulting, and I work with other protocols to map out their ecosystem, make sure that it has long-term sustainability. I help individuals who maybe like Neo Masterpiece Films. They're very experienced in the film industry, but knew nothing about Web3. And so they hired my consultation firm. I helped get them off the ground, work with all their contracts, etc., just to make sure that they have the success necessary. So a lot of different hats there.
Okay, and you're fully doxxed. You live in northeastern United States, and from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have personally any like team tokens or anything like that. You're not paying yourself a salary. Is that true from
Yeah,
from the
so I'm
project?
not taking a salary from OnlyBurns.
Okay.
There is a very small team allocation. Most of that is distributed to the people who work for OnlyBurns. I don't really need a lot of it. I mean, I showed you before the call. I do a lot of trading on commodities like silver and gold. That's kind of my bread and butter right there. I had a lot of success with that over the years.
Okay, so that's really cool. Because I kind of personally got very fed up with the fact that a lot of these DeFi projects are just making so much money off the holders. It's almost like a slow rug, where little by little they're just taking a little bit all the time, and basically the holders are just funding the salary of the founders. So I hated that. So I love it that you're doing that. All right, man. Look, we here in DeFi, it's hyper deflationary all the time. We've heard it a million times to the point where I see it on a thumbnail or something. I'm like, nah. Like I just assume it's BS, right? And when I first heard about OnlyBurns and I saw hyper deflationary, I was like, okay, here we go. Then I dived in and looked at kind of like the tokenomics, the actual mechanics, the actual details of your project, and the way that you guys built in certain things to allow for price appreciation to organically happen. In some ways, it reminded me of MDB, which has been a highly, highly successful project in a bear market. So I really like that about you. So can you tell us a little bit more about what makes your project truly hyper deflationary?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a 10% sell burn. So anytime someone is selling the tokens, 10% just straight burns to the dead wallet. Like that's not a tax we collect or anything like that. That's strictly off to the dead wallet. Not to mention, anytime a project or community member from other communities or our community is utilizing their O-burn to vote for which project they want to see win that month's buyback and burn, it burns those as well. So we have deflation coming from two different angles, and it affects the circulating supply, not some token sitting inside a treasury wallet somewhere just gathering dust that we're then burning from and saying, oh, look at us, we burnt $16 million worth of tokens or whatever it is, like you saw a ton of during the rebase protocol era. It's tokens from actual circulating supply, creating that deflation while helping with price appreciation. Because if projects and their communities are buying the Oburn token to then use it for voting, that's money coming into the LP that's not able to go back out because they're not going to be selling those tokens that they're using for voting since it's getting burnt.
Hmm. So it sounds to me like you're kind of bridging that gap that was kind of a huge gap between the burns actually doing something for the LP, the liquidity pool, versus the treasury, right? So you're
Right.
kind of focused more on the LP versus the treasury, like it was like, okay, I get that. Okay, that's pretty cool. That actually does help, and it's more than just a marketing kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
okay. So in as far as like why the projects would want to get into the burn wars, I think is what you call them, the burn wars.
Mhm.
Why would they want to do that instead of just doing something themselves? Like, can you go into detail about more of the why and how you're getting more of those projects and how many projects you already have in the pipeline?
Yeah. So the reason why it works out better to utilize the burn wars instead of doing something yourself is we have a buy tax on our token, right? Where it's collected in BUSD, not our native token. I know, anytime you were hopping into a protocol that had taxes on it, if they ever decided they needed to use that money for something, it usually made a big red sell candle on their chart, right?
Of course.
Nobody likes that. I don't like that. So through our relationship with Kyoto Swap, we have some custom routing that allows us to collect that tax in BUSD instead of our native token. So we don't have to apply any sell pressure to our chart, right? But that tax from all of the buy volume across the entire month feeds into the wallet that builds up the buyback and burn. Plus, our treasury with revenue that it generates, 30% of the revenue our treasury generates via farming outside of our ecosystem purchases the Oburn token back at the beginning of the month. And since it is not exempt from the taxes, that also creates funds right there in that burn fund wallet to begin fighting over with the different protocols, right? So it precedes that burn fund. So as
Hmm.
protocols, they can do a cost benefit analysis, right? They say, okay, there's X amount in the burn fund wallet ready for deployment. Maybe it's closer to the end of the month, so we have a really great idea of what first place, second place, third place, etc., is going to get. So we can buy and burn up to a certain amount and still have a positive net effect beyond that, right? Because we have money coming into that burn fund from regular volume transaction on our token, other protocols competing as well, other communities competing. So it has a greater cumulative effect versus them trying to do something just by themselves. Plus, let's say you have a bag in a project. Are you going to want to buy more of that and then burn it yourself? Or are you going to want to hold on to that bag because you're hoping for the price to increase? Instead, you and the rest of your community can buy a couple bucks worth of OBERM, use it to vote, get you in the first place, and then see price increase, right? When you get that buyback and burn. We ran the math on K-Swap, Kyoto Swap's token, and it would actually, if they win first place for the mega buyback and burn here in February, it would actually increase their token price by about 40%. So that's a pretty big impact.
And what day in February is that?
So that voting finishes end of February. So our token goes live February 14th. We're in pre-sale right now. It's been less than 24 hours since we started pre-sale, and we're already a third of the way to our hard cap, which, especially in these market conditions, that ain't bad.
Not at all, not at all. And just to confirm, you guys did something really cool where you didn't make it like, so, hey, you get into the pre-sale, you're going to pretty much 2x, and then everyone at launch, a lot of people are going to get kind of burned. All you did is you're taking off the 10% buy sell, I believe, post launch, correct?
So what we're doing is pre-sale is the same price as what live launch will be. The only difference is there's no buy tax on pre-sale, right?
Okay.
That way you're not starting off like 2-3x and then you have to worry about everybody dumping.
Yeah.
And plus, you got to think a lot of the protocols themselves are buying from the pre-sale because they want to get that vote weight power to vote for themselves to win the mega buyback and burn. So it's not like a situation where you got to worry, okay, are a bunch of people in pre-sale going to wind up dumping on me the moment this goes live? Because they're using those tokens to vote for that really big buyback and burn pot that we have. You know?
That's sharp. Yeah, that's sharp. I mean, I've talked about on my show many times, the play with most DeFi projects, especially if it's highly hyped and marketed, is buy early, get the 2x or 3x if you're lucky, and then you sell. Like, that's been the play. Like, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's been the play. So it's cool that you're addressing that. All right, man. So you've kind of touched on Kyoto a little bit. So it looks like you're using Kyoto Swap, and their DEX. I guess you're also leveraging their huge community, which is pretty big. Why else did you guys decide to partner up with Kyoto?
Yeah, so we spent probably about 12 to 18 hours in different video calls, and we had a really great rapport with their team, and it felt more like a relationship instead of just like a business transaction. You know, okay, launch on our launch pad, launch on our DEX, and feed us X percentage, and then good luck, have fun, right? It felt a lot more like a relationship. Like, okay, let's come together. Let's work together. Let's create something awesome, and just have a lot of fun. And they've been there every step of the way. Great support. Huge shout out to them and their team for that. Now, we wanted to launch on their DEX. They were willing to do the custom routing for us because we developed a smart contract that allows us to capture that tax in BUSD, but you wouldn't be able to use that on your typical DEX like Pancake Swap because they're not going to sit there and custom route it to your smart contract to perform the transactions, right? They're same for everyone, right? But Kyoto was willing to do that. And we did have all of our contracts audited by Interfi. Those are publicly displayed in our Discord, getting added to the site later today, just so that people can see that. And having that relationship with them means that as they grow, we grow. As we grow, they grow, right? And we're kind of like almost like their baby too, right? We're the first project to launch on their launch pad. So that's exciting stuff.
No, they're great guys. Ash, Simon, Frank, big fan of theirs. I really like those guys. So I get that partnership makes a lot of sense. It's a good match. Now, as far as Sphere and Dyson, can you tell us more about that partnership and the why?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those who aren't following Sphere, they recently released a product called Dyson. They released it yesterday, actually. And Dyson is an auto balancer for concentrated liquidity strategies on Uniswap and QuickSwap V3. That's very high level DeFi stuff. So,
It's a mouthful.
don't feel embarrassed if you don't know what that is as a listener or anything like that. That is some very high level DeFi stuff, but it essentially allows you to capture a lot more of the fees generated on Uniswap and QuickSwap via trading volume, right? So it stands to become really, really solid, especially as the bull market comes back. And we have a mutually beneficial partnership with them where our treasury pays a lower performance fee on money that we have in the Dyson protocol, meaning that we're getting more bang for our buck on that APR and that juicy yield on our money. And then in exchange, we utilize 2% of our revenue to purchase Sphere token, revenue that treasury is generating right there in Dyson. We purchase the Sphere token, which applies buy pressure to their token, and then we can stake it and farm it to earn blue chip cryptos. So really, it's just another investment for our treasury that generates real yield.
So, what percentage of your treasury do you estimate will be invested with Sphere dash Dyson?
So the exact percentage we're still ironing out, but it's going to be between 50 to 65%, give or take.
That's significant. You guys, that's significant. Okay.
It is. It's going
Do
to be
you
spread across multiple of their Dyson pool strategies to diversify and make sure that we don't have any one pot in risk in those pools.
Okay. So what other plans do you have in case things don't pan out with Dyson and Sphere and it underperforms?
Yeah, well, if that is the case, we always have the option of maintaining our investment into the V3 liquidity strategies on our own. Because the cool thing is, the way Dyson works, it's not like it requires anything to function, right? If you believe that there's going to be swapping occurring on Uniswap and QuickSwap,
Of course.
Dyson's going to be around, right? Because all it does is it's an automatic auto balancer for it.
Hmm.
Because when you are, the way V3 works is if you apply your LP to a specific price range, and then as long as it's trading in that range, you're getting a whole bunch of fees, right, from
Hmm.
people swapping. Now, if what
It
Dyson,
sounds easy, Cyril, but it's hard.
it is
Okay, because I
very,
tried it on Pancake with Buffer Finance. It's hard. Like I was like, after a week, I was like, I'm done with this. It's just, I mean, you have to watch it. You have to. It's time consuming, and even if you watch it, I mean, I'm not a dev or anything, but I thought I had it, and I struggled with it.
well, that's what makes Dyson awesome, right? Because it will auto move your LP around, and you can choose: do I want an aggressive strategy with a very tight range? Do I want a safer strategy that requires less rebalancing with a wider range? And we're going to diversify across those different options. And yeah, so like I really don't see it failing because there's always going to be volume on QuickSwap and Uniswap, right? As far as worst case scenario, let's say we decide not to utilize that anymore, there's tons of other options. We have stablecoin farming. We have personally been testing out a customized tweaked XRP bot that actually yielded 57.72% growth during the month of January. Of course, Matic did go on a run during January,
It's
so
still running.
it is. But yeah, so there's a lot of different mechanisms and strategies that we intend on diversifying our treasury across. I'm leveraging my 13 years of investment experience to make sure that we do diversify into solid things that generate solid yield, but nothing, too out there, because 9 times out of 10, those are very risky, right?
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Very much so. Okay, well, that makes sense. And then you kind of hit on something that I wanted to ask you about earlier, and I kind of missed it in regards to. Oh, yeah, and you didn't say how many projects do you have on your pipeline for the
Yeah.
burn wars?
Yeah, so if you check out our Twitter, we've been
Hmm.
announcing a new one every single day of the protocols that are competing in the burn wars. And the one that we actually just announced, my scheduled tweet went out, was collective finance. And so we've got, let's see, Kyoto Swap, Vertex Dex, EMP, Warfi, Up Finance, Grape Finance, CryptoLink, World of Magic, Sub-Zero, and Parrotly Finance and Collective Finance
It's
currently
13.
announced.
That's
Yeah,
13. Wow.
yeah,
Okay. Good stuff, man. That's a lot.
yeah.
That's a lot. I had no idea.
Solid names too.
Yeah, yeah, I recognize at least half of them, and yeah, Kyoto's huge in itself. But those, and who hasn't heard of Great Finance? So that's really cool, man. All right, and then what I was going to ask before I forgot that you hadn't given me the number. So a lot of my viewers are more kind of traders. Obviously, a lot of people watching right now are very into DeFi, but a lot of my viewers are not, and they care more about trading and they want to see value, and they're like, is there value with OBurns? And I can tell you right now, man, just looking at a lot of the things about your protocol and process, a lot of it has to do with governance and being able to vote and all that good stuff. But a lot of the people watching right now don't care about that. They just want to
Right.
make money and want to have, is this a good solution to a good project to look at? And they're going to want to know, can you just buy OBurn and single stake it?
Yes. So the single staking is coming a little bit later in the year. What we're doing is once our first treasury hits right around 1 million, which after we complete our NFT sales, it should be right around that point. We're going to be firing up a second treasury. This second treasury is also going to be farming. And what we're doing is we're taking 100% of the revenue that the second treasury generates, and we're creating a single staking pool for the OBurn token, where you deposit that into the pool, which we do have a name for. I don't think we publicly released that name yet, though. So,
Okay.
but there's a single staking pool. Once that is all operational, you would deposit your OBurn into it. No deposit tax, no withdrawal tax. I'm not the U.S. government. I'm not going to tax you on something you already paid a tax on when you bought. Okay. And what this does is our treasury, the second treasury that we fire up, that's also farming, 100% of the revenue it generates each month is then distributed to people staking in that pool based off their percentage of the OBurn that they've staked in that pool. So we're adding real yield to the token so that, let's say you want to just, we can go back to protocols with their treasuries and say, hey, by the way, look at what this has been yielding dollar for dollar. Why don't you buy some OBurn with a small percentage of your treasury, stake it? Now you have another revenue source. You're earning BUSD, not more tokens of this or that, but you're earning BUSD for your treasury based off of your stake in the OBurn pool. So, yeah.
No, that's very cool. And I mean, you said enough when you said that Kyoto's price can go by 40% if they win. Jesus Christ, that's amazing. No, that's very, very cool. So, as far as like examples of like, what this could do for you and for the OBurn holders of bringing in a new project. Obviously, you're leveraging your expertise, your relationships and contacts from being a consultant in DeFi and crypto as a whole. You're leveraging that to get projects. You already know a few people, obviously. Are you
Right.
also doing something as far as you or your team actively marketing, or are you just kind of trying to keep that more like grassroots? What are you doing with all that?
Yeah, so I do have a project outreach team, and what they've been doing is they've been going through DeFi Llama to find new ones that maybe aren't in our network. They've been reaching out to protocols, tapping into their networks. Our head of project outreach is a gentleman named Chris. He helped build up several other protocols and help them, be successful. He actually, his real life position is he is a salesman and marketer, right? So it was a really great fit for our team, and he's done a fantastic job so far. But we go through, we're consistently reaching out to these protocols. We're doing AMAs all the time. I believe it was Monday, I did 2 AMAs that day. I did 2 AMAs last Friday. I did 2 AMAs last Thursday, just like constant going, constant running. And yeah, and then once we do our first buyback and burn event, whew, the word of mouth marketing on that alone is going to be stellar. When people are looking at these projects that we perform the buyback and burn on, that is going to be a great marketing tool that we're going to leverage. We're going to host a live stream party when the voting is coming to a close at the end
Oh,
of
that's
each
cool.
month. Yeah, we'll be hosting that on Down Home Crypto, Serenity's channel.
Yeah, I like that guy. Yeah.
Yep, yeah, he's a
Yeah.
good guy. He's a good
Yeah.
guy.
Okay, so let's just shoot for the moon real quick, right? Let's just give a kind of ridiculous example, but let's just for fun. Let's say that you guys somehow are able to partner up with a big boy like, for example, that is always marketing burning. Luna, Luna, there's been a lot of talk about burning. That's a big part of it. If they burn enough, is it going to take 5 years, 10 years for the price to actually start appreciating? If you were to get a big boy like that, what would that do to the price, you think, of Oburn? What would it do to everything? I mean, the treasury, what would it do for you guys if you were to bring in a big boy like that? And how realistic is it to bring in a big project like that?
Yeah, so like all fires, we're going to start off with a little bit of a smaller burn, right? We gotta catch more combustion there.
Right.
Find more tinder to burn.
Got it.
But as we grow and as those buyback and burns start catching more and more attention and more protocols get involved, and having a big protocol like that and all of their community, oh my God, dude, like that would do amazing things for the Auburn price, because you got to think, if their community is coming in, if you have 40,000 people all coming in and buying the Auburn token to vote for their project, if they're averaging $50 or whatever, that's a lot of money.
It's
That's a lot
insane.
of money.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would do some pretty awesome stuff as far as deflation for our token, because they're buying it up and then burning it to vote. The price, of course, it's going to be a struggle to keep it from going parabolic if something like that occurs. That's why we retain a solid chunk of the Auburn in the treasury to take fresh BUSD, pair it with it, and add it to the LP to kind of soften a parabola. So, because nobody
Good.
likes seeing a parabola. We all know what happens afterwards, right?
Yeah, we do.
But
We
yeah, no,
definitely do.
that would be huge, and that is a goal of ours. I know my outreach guy Jake actually did reach out to Lunacy yesterday, and we're waiting to hear back from
Oh,
him.
just yesterday. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That would be the alpha of all alphas. So feel free to share with me so I can tell my community about it before it happens, because that would be like a great way to make a ridiculous amount of money in like a day. So that would be some sick alpha, man. You will become a very popular guy. People know that you have that kind of alpha. All right, man. I did want to talk just real quick about the NFTs. It seemed a little confusing in some ways. There's like different tiers. There's some of them seem to have a lot more in regards to like governance or something you can do with lending them out. Can you kind of tell us what the differences are?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it as succinct and simple as possible. Because yes, while the Auburn token is very straightforward, there's not a whole lot of like craziness that you need to do with it. There are ways to boost your vote weight, right? And those are coming after the mega buyback and burn event is completed. We're slating to have those out in March. Exact date will be around closer, announced closer to the time. But these NFTs, if you have one in your wallet, when you go to do your vote boost, your vote for the protocol and burn some Auburn to vote for them, it will boost how much they're counted for. So yeah, there are 3 different tiers. Each of them affect it differently. Tier 1 boosts it by 25%. So if you're burning 100 tokens, counts as 125. Tier 2, 50%. Tier 3, 100%. But the supply on those is really, really low, right? There's only 1,000 of the tier 1, 500 of the tier 2, and then 250 in total of the tier 3. And we're not releasing them all at once available for mint. We're doing it in stages throughout our protocol. That way, it ensures that they are restricted, something that people want to fight to get, that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what protocols are doing is they're actually trying to get a tier 3 because they want to be able to double the vote weight that they have. And this will allow smaller protocols who are coming in later when the price is a lot higher to be able to compete with protocols that maybe bought some vote weight during pre-sale or when the price was lower, right? They'll be able to essentially boost their vote weight to kind of compete with that.
Yeah. So you touched on that on one of the AMAs that I watched, where you talked about the fact that you're kind of protecting the little guy versus the big guy by like kind of doing kind of like weight averages. So
Right.
yeah. So that was pretty cool to see. All right, man. So as far as important dates, I mean, right now is an important date, right? You just it's pretty important right now. The next one is probably February 14th,
Yep.
7 days from yesterday. That's when the live launch happens, and then March is when the NFTs happen. What other important dates did I miss?
That's pretty much all the important dates. Voting will obviously close at the end of February. So if you're voting for a protocol or you are a protocol and you want to make sure that you guys can win one of the big buyback and burns, because we are burning the top 5 protocols on that leaderboard. Obviously, first place gets the biggest slice of cheese, but
Right.
So the last day of February is when you want to make sure you have your votes in for the protocol that you're rooting for to see that buyback and burn. But yeah, no, pre-sale currently ongoing. Live launch February 14th. I apologize to all the ladies out there. I know it's Valentine's Day, but this year maybe he wants to fall in love with OnlyBurns for just a little bit.
Wow.
We'll give him back when it's done. We promise.
That's good. I love it. Very cool, man. The only other question I have is I was just scrolling down your website right now, and I don't know who Moeda is. What is that?
Moeda is a protocol that has a product, and this product is a bot that is currently in over 150 groups, and it tracks burn events on the blockchain. So
Ah,
it was a match made in heaven, if you will.
absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a great that's a business level partnership. What they'll do is anytime a project is like, hey, we want to use your bot to track our burn events, they say, hey, you want more burn events? Check out OnlyBurns. Anytime someone wants to get compete in the burn wars, we say, hey, you should look into Moeda. They got a great bot that will alert your whole community when we do the buyback and burn. So it's perfect little union there.
Okay. One more question, man. If one of your community members or one of my viewers or anyone gives you guys, like, I guess, the connection to a project and they end up coming into the burn wars, does that person get some kind of referral? Do they get some tokens, anything like that that you guys have cooked up?
So we don't have an active affiliate status for that, but if someone connects us with a protocol and they do join, I'll make sure that they get something. You
Okay.
know, They-
Wow. You heard that, guys. Okay.
I'll
Okay.
make sure they get something, even if it's over from my personal bag. I'll make sure that they are properly thanked for that connect.
All right, cool, cool. And I saw that you guys also are gonna have merchandise and all sorts of stuff, so you can throw that into the bag. A lot of cool stuff you can do there.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. All right, Cyril. That's about it as far as my questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover that we haven't touched on?
Um, I mean, not that I can think of without going into in-depth explanations, but of course, if people want to know more, please feel free to join our Discord. You can find links to that and our Twitter on our website, which is onlyburns.com.
In our
We
description below.
and make sure that you hit that like button and
Absolutely.
subscribe to engage here. They always say smash that like button, hit the
Yes,
notification
yes.
bell, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
All that good stuff.
Yeah, so thank you for tuning in. And I appreciate you, chatting with me today.
Yeah, man, thanks for coming on. I think you guys are going to do very well. I think the price is going to appreciate over time very, very well. Is there going to be, ups and downs? Absolutely. But I actually think you guys are going to do quite well, regardless of whether it's bear, bull market. And we can sit here and talk about how long the bull market, how far away it is. Maybe we're getting closer to it beginning than we realize. I don't know. But I don't think you guys are so needy of a bull market to do well because of your tokenomics, because of the way you set up the process and the price appreciation. mechanics of it. I just don't. So I think you guys are a different, like a different. You guys are like a different shade of MDB in some ways, just from the mechanics perspective, and I just love that. And I think that you guys should do very well as far as the price appreciation of the Oburn. As far as the NFTs, man, I'm kind of clueless. I own like 6 NFTs now or 7. I couldn't even tell you what they're worth. I don't even check on them. I just feel very, very clueless when it comes to NFTs, and I feel like helpless. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm like the fish in the, in poker they say if you can't spot the fish at the table within 30 minutes, you're it. When with NFTs, that's how I feel. But it sounds like you guys did really do a good job of making sure that you blend that in to give actual use and actual value to the Oburn holders by holding the NFTs. So it sounds like you did map that out pretty well and had that in mind.
Not to mention the NFTs, we do take 14% of the treasury revenue and distribute it across the 3 tiers equally. So they get that that drip based off of our treasury performance as well.
So is that so that's in BUSD as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. That's very nice. That adds up over time. Really does.
It does. It does.
All right. All right, man. Well, I think that's it for me. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. I think you guys have a good, solid project. And guys, go check them out. We'll have everything below. And yeah, I'll be. I really can't wait to see where you guys are in 6 months, man. As far as your price and when will you guys be on Deck Screener?
So Deck Screener, it auto aggregates from, because it does pull from Kyoto. We made sure that they pull that, so that should be on there once our token live launches. Plus, I have a connect over at CoinGecko, a gentleman named Kai. So
nice.
I can twist his arm and say, here's the info. Go ahead and get us on there ASAP. So that comes in handy.
Okay, so the 14th, we should be able to start tracking it as early as the 14th.
Yeah,
okay.
Should be able to track it once we go live for trade on Kyoto Swap on the 14th.
All right, cool. All right, man. Thanks again, guys. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day, great week. Take care.